Do you like catching movies in the theaters? Check out MoviePass, where you can see a movie every single day for as low as $30 a month. And IAYTD has the hookup, where you can click the link in the description box below to try MoviePass for 2 weeks before committing to it. Only available in the United States currently, but check out the website for a full list of participating movie theaters near you. Welcome to I'm Your Target Demographic. My name is Adam Ryan Daniels, and today we are answering the question, who are the Hulks? Okay, and this might not make a lot of sense to you because you're like, I know who the Hulk is. But there are a lot of Hulks and Hulk-like creatures that it's a little confusing. Who are they? What can they do? And so I'm going to run through who these people are, what they can do, and show you a lot of cool pictures. So start with the basic one, who is the Hulk. So Bruce Banner was a scientist. He went out to protect this kid, okay? And that kid will come up later. But he went out to protect him and ended up right in the zone of a gamma bomb, basically. So this explosion kind of, instead of killing him, gave him these powers. And he now hulks out and becomes this giant green behemoth. And he's been written differently a lot of times, and so it's hard to kind of pinpoint consistency. But sometimes he has full control over turning into the Hulk. He can do whatever he wants. Other times he's prone to, when he gets angry, he turns into it. Sometimes he's very articulate. Sometimes he is just a beast. There's also been a lot of different story arcs involving him doing different things. So different kind of personas he's had. But he's always Bruce Banner, and he's always the Hulk. So I'm not going to talk too much about the different versions of that Hulk, but we're going to talk about the other people that have Hulk names and Hulk powers. But there are some that you might think are different people, but they're really Bruce Banner. One of them is Joe Mr. Fix-It, or Mr. Joe Fix-It. I'm not sure if Fix-It is his last name or a nickname. Anyways, but he is a gray Hulk, okay? And he's very much intelligent, witty, kind of conniving, like he's a little manipulative, and he worked in like Vegas, and he was kind of like taking people for their money. This came at a weird point in Hulk's life where he didn't want to smash, but he was kind of manipulating and getting this money and whatnot. So Mr. Fix-It was an interesting persona, but he is still Bruce Banner, even though he appears like a different person. Next up, we have a character called the Maestro. And the Maestro is also Bruce Banner. Okay, but get this. He's Bruce Banner from a future that hasn't happened yet, where basically the world succumbs to nuclear war, and most of the people are killed, all the other superheroes are killed, and the Hulk is the only remaining hero, basically. Well, there's a few, but he's one of the only ones. And so he grows older, and this nuclear fallout kind of makes him stronger, so he's stronger than our Hulk. And he kind of uses this as a chance to take over, different areas, and he's kind of like in charge, very much a tyrant, basically a villain. And so he is our Hulk, but from a future and one that hopefully won't happen. Our Hulk has met the Maestro, and since the Maestro is stronger, the Maestro almost always wins. Just an interesting note. So now we're going to talk about a Hulk that isn't green but almost looks identical, but he's red. So he is cleverly called RedHulk. They should have thought of another name. Anyways, RedHulk is General Thunderbolt Ross, which is Hulk's lover, basically Betty Ross. It's her father who is a general, and he kind of is envious of the Hulk's abilities. So he kind of succumbs to these experiments and kind of gives in to these people that kind of want to tweak with him a little bit, and he's like, give me those powers. And so he becomes as strong as the Hulk, and he gets these other abilities to kind of absorb and discharge energy and heat. So he's kind of always kind of like just hot and kind of like on fire looking. But he is General Thunderbolt Ross, so he's like an older man when he's not the Red Hulk. And the Red Hulk started as a villain, but he's since kind of done arcs where he's been in the Avengers, and he's kind of been a hero, so he's kind of back on track now. But he was eventually depowered by the Hulk, who went on the spree of kind of, I need to depower all of these gamma mutants. And so he kind of, one of those was General Thunderbolt Ross, who is now in prison for some of the heinous acts that he committed. Next up, we're talking about SheHulk. Okay? SheHulk, her name is Jennifer Walters, and she is the Hulk's cousin. And she is a lawyer, and she's a very good lawyer, but she was injured. She was, I believe, shot because of people that she was defending. and she needed an emergency blood transfusion. The only person that could was her cousin, Bruce Banner. So when they infused that blood, it gave her enough of this gamma radiation to give her some abilities. She is not as strong as the Hulk, but she regains her entire intelligence. She kind of lives as She-Hulk most of the time, so she's out and about. She's kind of doing her lawyer thing while looking like She-Hulk. But she is very fast, she's very durable, and very strong. Up next, we have another She-Hulk, often called the Savage She-Hulk, called Lyra. Or is it Lyra? God, I wish someone would just write down pronunciations on some of these sites. Never know. Let's go with Lyra. Lyra is from an alternate future where someone mixed the Hulk's DNA with their DNA to create a child. So this is kind of Hulk's offspring, but not in the traditional means. And so they basically created this woman named Lyra, who is kind of this Amazonian, kind of this warrior woman who can turn into the Savage She-Hulk. She has the same abilities basically as the Jennifer Walters version, so she's very strong, she has great endurance. She also has an added benefit that in her reality, there was a large-scale symbiote attack. So like Venom, Carnage, those symbiotes attacked her planet, and so they created this genetic means of becoming invisible to the symbiotes. So when she arrives here in our reality, characters like Venom and Carnage can't sense her, so she can kind of just, hit them from behind, take them out, things like that. For a while, she existed in our reality. She was kind of a hero. She worked alongside these people, but I can't figure out recently what's happened. So I don't think she's still here. I think she's back where she belongs. But in the comments, let me know if you know what she's up to, if she's still around. Okay, so we have Hulk, RedHulk, She-Hulk, Savage She-Hulk, and now we have the Red She-Hulk. We just need better names for these people. Red She-Hulk appeared as a mystery. We didn't know who she was. At this point, Hulk was pretty devastated because Betty Ross was killed. And it's revealed that Betty Ross is actually the Red She-Hulk. Okay, the love of Bruce Banner's life. And basically when she died was when the leader and some other villains kind of went to General Thunderbolt Ross and said, hey, we think we can fix this. So they created the Red Hulk, and they made Betty Ross, they resurrected her as the Red She-Hulk. She doesn't always remember her life as Betty Ross, but I think she's becoming more and more cognizant of that. She has the same basic powers as the Red Hulk. Okay, so she is strong, durable, but also has some of these energy abilities and kind of flame abilities similar to her father. Okay, now we're going to veer away from colors and genders. We're going to get to some more unique characters that are Hulk-like. And first up, we have the Hulk's son, Scar. Now, Scar was born during an event called Planet Hulk, where Hulk was kind of exiled to another planet, and while there, he became a hero, and he had a child. But when he left Planet Hulk, he thought that the child was dead. But turns out the child survived. And Scar kind of is this kid, but he can become this Hulk-like creature. So he's a little younger, a little more savage, so he's kind of out there trying to survive, fend for himself, and he has the powers of the Hulk, so he's very strong, quick, things like that. But he also, because of his mother, who had a very close connection with the planet that they're from and some mystical things, has something called old power, which is basically tied to the world. So it's very kind of elemental, so he can kind of create little shock waves and kind of move rock around. So he can kind of use that energy in addition to his ability to be the Hulk. So he eventually makes his way to Earth, where he's looking for his father to kind of get revenge, until they figure out really kind of what happened. They make nice, and now Scar was a hero for a while, but he has also been depowered by the Hulk. Okay, so I believe he still has his elemental powers, but he doesn't have the ability to turn into the Hulk anymore. And if I'm wrong about that, let me know. I'm sure you will. Next up, we have another Hulk from a alternate future, basically, called Hulk 2099. And 2099 was a series that came out when I was relatively young, so a lot of you probably weren't even alive yet, whereas they kind of launched this series of books all taking place in this kind of dystopian future where things weren't always great. And the Hulk in our future has died. But there's a cult, basically, that worships him, basically. So it's called the Knights of Banner. And they kind of like, yeah, we wish the Hulk was real. So they're doing experiments to kind of recreate the Hulk and to give people gamma powers. So there's a guy named John Eisenhart, and he is a movie producer, and they want to make a film about this cult, basically. So he goes and talks to them, and they're like, no thanks. Things go crazy, go haywire, go sideways, and there's a gamma explosion, and it turns John into the future version of the Hulk. And basically he feels guilty for kind of causing this, and most of the Knights of Banner have died, and so he now goes on a spree to kind of save the world and, you know, save people and kind of turn his life around. He looks a lot more savage, so he looks very monstrous, but he is fully in control of his mind. So he's still intelligent, he can still articulate his thoughts, but he is just incredibly powerful. Lastly, we have a character that's not really a Hulk, but he is tied to the Hulk mythology so much that I thought I'd talk about him. And this is a character called Rick Jones. And Rick Jones was actually the kid that Bruce Banner was trying to save when he became the Hulk. Okay, so Rick Jones was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and Banner kind of pushed him out of the way and saved him from this explosion that made him the Hulk. And Rick Jones felt so guilty about this that he spent kind of his youth kind of as a sidekick, kind of like a Robin character to the Hulk. But the Hulk was like, I don't need you. But Rick Jones was always there. And kind of Rick Jones has always been there, but he's not really well known, but he kind of should be. Like when Captain America lost Bucky, Rick Jones tried to fill that spot and even wore the Bucky outfit, but Captain America didn't like that a lot. Rick Jones at one point wore these things called nega bands that were bands that allowed the user to tap into something called the negative zone, which is kind of a really powerful place and kind of weird, and he was able to use that energy and became a hero similar to Captain Marvel of the time. And so he was kind of the super hero. He lost those powers. This whole time, Rick Jones has been around. He's been trapped in the negative zone multiple times. He's been almost killed. I think he was in a coma for a while. He has gone through the ringer. So he wrote a book actually about his exploits as kind of a sidekick, and he's now a very successful author. But he got wrapped up in The Leader. When The Leader made the RedHulk and the Red SheHulk, and he was kind of doing these experiments, he also turned Rick Jones into something called A-Bomb, or someone called A-Bomb. And it's basically like the Abomination, but he's like a blue version, kind of monstrous. Now, when he's A-Bomb, he can't remember what happens during those transformations, so I don't know if he always did the right thing, but he didn't remember it. So he would kind of just become Rick Jones again after that incident. And he had all the powers of the Hulk, right? So strength, again, with the addition of the ability to camouflage into his environment, which gave him some advantages. Now, A-Bomb was also eventually depowered. Okay, so he just became Rick Jones again, normal average guy. So that is a pretty extensive list of some Hulks. There are other people that had gamma powers, such as the Abomination that I didn't talk about. There might be some other relatives of the Hulk, but these are the ones that really stand out as being who are the Hulks. So that's a pretty extensive list, but let me know who else you think should be considered here. I mean, there's a lot of aliases that the Hulk went by, so there's a lot to talk about, but those are the basics. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.